I am Dr. Mark Poray, a chiropractor in Whitby. I'm the chiropractor for the Toronto Rock of the National Lacrosse League and the team doctor for the Brooklin Redmen of Major Series Lacrosse Senior A. I want to talk a little bit today about concussions, and we'll start off with some of the misconceptions about concussions, of which I want to touch on 6. The first is that you can grade a concussion immediately after it occurs as grade 1, grade 2, or grade 3, or moderate, mild, severe. In fact, because of the nature of concussions, which is bruising or bleeding inside the brain, some of the bruising can be slow, some can be fast. If it's slow, some of the symptoms may not appear for several days. So you really cannot grade that concussion on the spot. It takes several days. The second misconception is that once the symptoms are resolved, that the concussion is resolved and the player can return back to play. In fact, some of the symptoms can resolve within 7 to 14 hours, but because of biochemical changes inside the brain, some of these can take a long time to resolve. And if you return too quickly to play, a possible second concussion scenario can lead to symptoms that take up to 10 or more times to resolve as the original concussion, or it can in fact result in death. So it's very important to take the proper length of time for that to heal. The third misconception is that the coup contra coup mechanism of the injury results in tearing, bleeding, and permanent scarring inside the brain. Well, it now seems that the tissues are not torn but are merely stretched, and with appropriate rest, they will return back to normal. So depending on the part of the brain that is affected, it may result in different kinds of symptomatology, like balance problems, personality changes, problems in cognitive processes, and so on. The fourth misconception is that if there's no loss of consciousness, then there was no concussion. And if there is a loss of consciousness, depending on how long it was, that determines how severe the concussion was. Well, you should be clear that no loss of consciousness is required in order for a concussion to occur. If you suspect that there is a concussion, then you should proceed on that assumption. Proceed as if there is a concussion and follow the protocols accordingly. You can see symptoms like blurred vision, loss of memory, loss of consciousness, neck pains, feeling as if they're in a fog, or feeling slowed down, vomiting, seizures, all of these things. The fifth misconception is that your doctor can treat the symptoms of a concussion. Well, in fact, there's little evidence to suggest that neurocognitive or drug therapy can speed or help along with the healing of a concussion. And in fact, if the athlete is on drugs, drug therapy, they can't return to play anyway. So follow the protocols of a concussion, which we'll talk about in a second, and then just wait for the symptoms to heal on their own. The sixth and final misconception is that chiropractors can't help and shouldn't be consulted to treat the effects of a concussion. While there's certainly no evidence to indicate that chiropractic care can directly affect or improve the results of concussion, and in fact you should probably avoid spinal manipulative therapy for about 10 to 14 days following a concussion. It is known that it requires about 4 to 5 times the force of gravity to cause a concussion. So the injury is accompanied by symptoms of whiplash, and it is these symptoms that should be treated by the chiropractor. And in fact, there are several high-profile cases recently where, when those symptoms were addressed, the balance of the symptoms of the concussion were resolved. In fact, about 52% of the symptoms that accompany a concussion that are cervicogenic can be treated with chiropractic care. So let's talk a little bit about what are the home treatments for after you've determined that a concussion has occurred. First of all, remember that no sedatives, no sleeping pills, no aspirin, Motrin, or Advil should be taken. And you can take acetaminophen once you have been cleared by the family doctor and he suggests that that can be done. You should also have no alcoholic beverages. There should be no exertion. Do not eat or drink, even though the patient probably won't want to do that anyway. When you lie down, make sure that the head is elevated, and obviously do not operate any equipment, cars or anything like that will require your alertness. The protocol for returning to play is at least 6 days after a concussion. So each of these steps should progress 1 day at a time, and if you cannot proceed through any of these protocols without symptoms, then you do not progress on to the next step. So the first one is no activity at all. No mental, no physical activity until you are symptom-free. So that includes work, school, computer games, anything at all. Once that's been done, you can proceed on to the next step, which is light aerobic activity like walking or stationary cycling. If you can do that without symptoms, the following day you may move on to sport-specific activity like walking or stationary cycling. If you can do that without symptoms, then you can move on to step 4, which is the introduction of training drills without contact. If that is if that can be done, then step 5 is training drills with body contact. Also, with the assumption that you've been cleared by the family doctor or the doctor that's looking after this particular condition. And the final step, which is no more or no less than 6 days following the concussion, is return back to play. That's everything I wanted to talk about. If you have any questions, please send me email questions to drporay@gmail.com, and I encourage you to take a look at my website, the rest of my website, at www.drporay.com. Thank you very much.